Hey everyone, it's Miss Joyce. Today we'll be rewriting fractions and dividing whole numbers to answer as a fraction. Jaden has 3 cookies. He evenly splits the cookies between Jossiri and himself. How many cookies will each person have? Well, first let's represent these 3 cookies. We can't evenly share these 3 cookies between 2 people, but what we can do is cut each cookie in half so each person will get half of a cookie. We can do that for this first one, where Jossiri will get this half on the left and Jaden will get the half on the right. We can do that again over here for the second cookie and split it evenly between the 2 people. And we can do it for this last cookie over here. If we wanted to write this as a division sentence, we would have 3 divided by 2, since there are 3 cookies split between 2 people. Well, let's see how much or how many cookies Jossiri is going to get. So Jossiri is getting 1 half, 2 halves, 3 halves. So Jossiri is going to be getting 3 halves of a cookie. Jaden is also going to get that same amount. 1 half, 2 halves, 3 halves. Well, we can rewrite this 3 halves as a mixed number. If we look at Jossiri's, we can see that we have half and another half, which equals 1 whole cookie, and she's going to get another half, which would be 1.5 cookies. So 3 divided by 2 is 3 halves, or 1.5. If we notice here, 3 is the dividend, the starting number. It's also our numerator. The divisor, 2, is our denominator. Let's see in this next problem, if we divide, if the dividend, the first number, becomes our numerator, and if the divisor, our second number, becomes the denominator. Eliana has 7 slices of pizza. She splits them evenly between herself and 2 other friends. So that's going to be 3 people. How many slices will each person get? Well, here we have 7 slices. We're going to give this first slice to Eliana, the second slice to friend number 1, and the third slice to friend number 2. Eliana is going to get the next piece, and then friend number 1, and then friend number 2. We have 1 slice of pizza left, but that's not enough to give to each person gets 1 more slice. But what we can do is cut this 1 slice into 3 equal parts. This first part on the left can go to Eliana, the middle part can go to friend number 1, and the last part can go to friend number 2. So let's represent this with a division sentence. We have 7 divided by 3 because there are 7 slices of pizza split between 3 people. Well, here we can see that Eliana is going to get 1, 2 whole slices, and a third of another slice. So she's going to get 2 1/3 slices. We can rewrite this here by rewriting this as a fraction greater than 1. If we look, we can see that each person is going to get 7/3 slices of pizza. We can see that here the 7, the dividend, goes on top as our numerator, and our divisor, 3, is going on the bottom. So 7 divided by 3 is 2 1/3, which is the same as 7/3. Now that we've learned that the dividend becomes our numerator and the divisor becomes our denominator, let's try writing these division sentences as fractions. 3 divided by 4 is going to equal 3/4. The 3 is going to go on top as our numerator, and the 4 is on the bottom as our denominator. With 4 divided by 3, we can write the answer as 4/3. Since 4 is our dividend, it's going to become our numerator, and the 3 is going to become our denominator. This fraction bar in the middle is like our division sign. 4 divided by 3. So let's try to rewrite each fraction as a division problem. Here we have 12/4, which is the same as 12 divided by 4. For B, we have 9/3, which is the same as 9 divided by 3. Here we have 10 thirds, which is the same as 10 divided by 3. Now we have 14 fourths, which can be rewritten as 14 divided by 4. For E, we have 19 sixths, which can be rewritten as 19 divided by 6. And finally, for F, we have 18 fifths, which can be rewritten as 18 divided by 5. So now let's rewrite each fraction greater than 1 as a mixed number. First, we have 3 halves. Well, we just learned that 3 halves can be rewritten as 3 divided by 2. We're going to solve 3 divided by 2 and write our answer or quotient as a mixed number. So let's ask ourselves, what can we multiply by 2 to get closest to 3 without going over? Well, 2 times 1 gets us closest to 3 because 2 times 1 is 2. We need 1 more to get to 3, so 1 is our numerator, and our denominator is going to stay 2 since that is what we're dividing by. 3 divided by 2 is equal to 1 1/2, which means that 3 halves is equal to 1 1/2. Let's do the same for 5 thirds. Well, we know now that 5 thirds can be rewritten as 5 divided by 3. Now let's ask ourselves, what can we multiply by 3 to get closest to 5 without going over? Well, 3 times 1 can get us closest to 5 without going over. 3 times 1 is 3. We need 2 more to get to 5. So 2 is going to be our numerator. And our denominator is going to be 3 since we're dividing by 3. So 5 divided by 3 equals 1 2/3, which means 5 thirds is equivalent to 1 2/3. Now let's try 11 fourths. Let's first rewrite this as a sentence. 11 fourths is 11 divided by 4. Let's ask ourselves, what can we multiply by 4 to get closest to 11 without going over? Well, 4 times 2 gets us closest to 11 because 4 times 2 is 8. We're at 8. We need 3 more to get to 11. So 3 is going to be our numerator. Our denominator is going to be 4 since we're dividing by 4. So 11 divided by 4 equals 2 3/4, which means 11 fourths equals 2 3/4. Finally, here we have 15 fifths. We can write this as a division sentence by writing 15 divided by 5. Well, let's see, what can we multiply by 5 to get closest to 15 without going over? Well, 5 times 3 gets us exactly 15. So 15 divided by 5 equals 3, which means 15 fifths is equal to 3. All right, so here's the last section. We're going to represent each mixed number as a fraction greater than 1. We're going to use a different strategy of a written method to help us do this. First, we have 1 1/2. What we can do, instead of rewriting the 1 as 2 halves and then adding them together, another thing we could do is multiply the denominator 2 by the whole number 1. So 2 times 1 equals 2, and then we add whatever the numerator is. So 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. So the numerator is going to be 3, and the denominator stays the same as 2. So 1 1/2 is equivalent to 3 halves. We can do this again for B, where we have 1 2/5. Instead of rewriting 1 as 5 over 5 and then adding it to 2/5, we can multiply 5 times 1 to get 5, plus 2 to get 7. So the numerator is 7, and the denominator stays the same as 5. So 1 2/5 is equivalent to 7/5. For C, we have 2 3/4. We can multiply the denominator times the whole number. So 4 times 2 is 8, plus the numerator 3. 8 plus 3 is 11. So our numerator is 11, and the denominator stays the same as 4. So 2 and 3/4 is equivalent to 11/4. And finally, we have 3 and 2/3. If we multiply the denominator times the whole number, 3 times 3 is 9. We can then add the numerator 2. 9 plus 2 equals 11. So the numerator is 11 and the denominator 3 stays the same. So 3 and 2/3 is equivalent to 11/3.